Welcome back to the channel, guys. This video is going to be a little bit different because in every other cheat day, you've seen me go to restaurants, you've seen me buy things from Publix or a grocery store. But today, no, that is not happening. We are going to live a day like Nara Smith, and we are going to make everything homemade. Now, I'd like to put an asterisk next to everything because there are some things that end up not being completely homemade, but you'll see that in the video. Now, the reason I'm doing this is every time I scroll on TikTok or I get sent something by my sisters, it is always a video by Nara Smith making something homemade. And when I see these videos, I always get intrigued to the amount of effort that goes into actually making things from scratch, but completely from scratch. So I wanted to try it out. And what better way to do it than on a cheat day when I get to eat whatever I want and just enjoy. So let's just get into this. We have made it to meal number one. It is currently 3:19. It is late. I know I did not plan well. This day was supposed to go a lot different. I was supposed to have donuts already and I was supposed to make them homemade. I was supposed to do a lot of different things, but making things homemade is very difficult. So shout out to Nara Smith. I don't know how she does this. Everything from scratch. Barbecue sauce from scratch, which you have to make ketchup to make barbecue sauce. It's just an inception of sauces. This is a barbecue chicken pizza. She has made mozzarella cheese from scratch as well, but I am lactose intolerant. I am not touching cheese. That would have just been a lot more work that I didn't want to do. I'm going to cut into this. I'm going to give it a Sam rating. If it's worth it, worth the time that I spent in on this. I had some help from my sisters though, because if I didn't, then I would probably never get this day done. Pause. Before I go into actually tasting the pizza, I want to show you the steps it took to actually get from point A to point B. It was a lot, and it was time consuming. Okay guys, after much deliberation, I realized I can't give you this recipe because it's my aunt's, so I'm just gonna give you a gist on what I did. In that first clip, it was my sister because I realized if I was gonna do this, I needed help. So while she made the dough, I made the pizza sauce. For the ketchup, it was just tomato paste, honey, vinegar, and water. You're then gonna let it simmer in a pot for about 5 minutes and then take it off, and then you can make your barbecue sauce. Before we get into the barbecue sauce, the dough is ready, so I placed breadcrumbs on the table with a little bit of flour. The first thing that you need to do before you roll the dough out is actually spread it with your hands, and make sure when you're using a rolling pin that you put flour on it as well because it will stick. I'm making the mistakes now so you don't have to. As you roll it out, you want to make sure that you keep it as aesthetic as possible. You then place breadcrumbs on the pan before putting the dough on there. Now don't ask me what the breadcrumbs are for because I don't know. It might be for texture. Make sure that when you put the pizza on the pan, it looks like a circle, and then you're going to want to poke holes in it. Now the holes I think are for ventilation so it doesn't puff up. So don't poke holes where you want the crust to be. Spread some olive oil on the dough. Now you're going to spread your sauce around the pizza dough and make sure that you leave space for the crust. You're then going to put it into the oven at 400 degrees for 8 minutes so the crust cooks. Now for the barbecue sauce, it is the ketchup that you made with red wine vinegar, garlic, Worcestershire sauce, yellow mustard, and brown sugar. Here's the thing about the ketchup and the barbecue sauce. Everything was to taste. I had no recipe. I was just going off of what I felt was right. Now while the pizza was in the oven, I started on the peanut butter that I was going to use later. Now all that is grinding up peanuts in a food processor and adding a little bit of salt. You can grind it to either be crunchy or smooth, and the salt is just a taste. Once the pizza comes out of the oven, now you can add your toppings. It's just because you don't want it to dry if the chicken's already cooked, and it doesn't really need that much long. It's just to heat it up. I put chicken and bell peppers on it, but you can add whatever you want. Put it back into the oven for about 2 to 5 minutes, just depending on how you want it, and then you're done. Wait, that's delicious. Day Portnoy has no flop, but it is not crunchy. I think it still lose points. This is probably like a 6.5 on the Day Portnoy score. But for everything being homemade by my own hands and a little bit by my sisters, this is getting 4 out of 5 stars. I will 100% make this again. The barbecue sauce is on the sweeter side, which I like. I do wish it was a little crispier though. I know there's a name for pizza without cheese. It's some certain style. If you know the name, put it down in the comments because I don't know. I just don't ever feel like ordering it, but this is a great alternative. Because it's so late in the day and it's my first meal, I think I'm gonna only have one more slice right now. There is a lot more food to come, and I wanna make sure I try everything and I can enjoy it homemade, like Nara Smith. This is my one more slice. Do you fold your pizza or do you leave it just normal triangle style? We ended up putting the pizza back into the oven because it was way too soft. This is the updated pizza, 0 flop. So not that much more crunchy. Get a bite of the crust. There's a crunch. We're still waiting for the donuts. I honestly don't know how to fry donuts. Like actually get the oil hot and make sure that it's perfect temperature and make sure that you don't burn yourself and it doesn't pop. That's my biggest fear. So we're gonna try do that now. They have just sat for another 45 minutes. Now it's time to see if we can make good donuts. I think I'm just gonna end up wanting to only ever buy donuts after this. We'll see. I've been more proud of something in my entire life. To think that these are all homemade, let me get myself out of it so you guys can see them properly. And I'll do a little overlay clip. I just feel like they need a moment. They need to be taken bacon in. These things look absolutely amazing. This one was probably the most perfect donut that came out of the fryer. I kind of messed it up with the peanut butter. It didn't look as pretty. Again, you win some, you lose some. We're gonna pause one more time because I'm gonna show you exactly how I made these donuts. These donuts were a recipe from Joshua Wiseman. I found it on YouTube one morning. And I know that Nara Smith never made these, but it was completely homemade from scratch and I wanted to try these. Like she starts all her videos, her kids were feeling, her husband was feeling, well, you know what? I was feeling for donuts and I always want donuts on a cheat day. Let's just get into how these donuts were made because surprisingly they weren't that difficult. This recipe will be left in the description, but you're gonna start with 1.5 cups of whole milk. I used almond milk because I didn't have whole milk and also I'm lactose intolerant. The milk has to be at about 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So I put it into the microwave, but it got a little too hot, so it had to sit and wait. While it was doing that, I measured out everything else. It's 1 tablespoon of instant yeast and 1/3 cup of sugar, 4.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 eggs and 1 egg yolk. I don't know how people break them on the table. It just never works for me properly. It took about 25 minutes before the milk got to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. It felt like forever. Once the milk actually reaches 95 degrees Fahrenheit, you have to whisk in the instant yeast and the sugar together. The sugar helps activate the yeast, which I think it does, and correct me if I'm wrong. Then you're going to pour the milk mixture into a stand mixer with the eggs. Make sure that you beat the eggs before you add them. Then you're going to mix that up with a dough hook and then add your flour in 3 tablespoons at a time. You're then going to add half a stick of unsalted butter, which is just 1 stick of butter. You're going to need that for about 5 minutes before taking it out of the machine. Get a huge bowl oiled up and ready to place the dough in there so it can sit and rise. Cover it and then you leave it for about an hour and a half before you start forming the donuts. When the hour and a half is up, it's going to be very puffed up. You're going to press the dough down before you put it onto a table with flour just because you don't want it sticking to your rolling pin. Use anything that you have that is circular, or if you have actual donut cutters, cut the donuts out and then cut the donut holes out from the center. The dough should feel extremely light and fluffy. Roll the excess dough out and make more donuts and then let them sit for another 45 minutes to raise again. Place your oil in the pot and make sure that there's enough so that the donut isn't touching the bottom of the pan. The oil should be at about 350 degrees and then cook them until they're golden brown on each side. I am very happy with the way these turned out. Now we just have to taste them, but before we do that, we're gonna put on some toppings. My sister made a glaze for me. This one has the strawberry jam that I made this morning, and then this is the peanut butter that we made also this morning as well. So I'm gonna try to do like a little peanut butter and jelly donut. I don't know how it's gonna come out and I'm really scared because this one looks so good. I don't wanna mess it up. We just gotta go for it. You know, you just gotta take risks in this life. All right, that looks nothing like I wanted it to look, but it's okay. Okay, this looks better. I should have did little dollops like this. And this is my masterpiece. Now, am I gonna eat it right now? Absolutely not. I have to take pictures of this, so give me a second. Let me take some pictures and we'll be right back. Before I get into that one and take pictures, I do wanna try them. This is what the donut looks like. It's just completely glazed. My sister's the one who put the glaze on. Oh, I'm gonna give you guys a SAM rating. Oh my God. Can you see that? Is it salty donut caliber? Not yet, no. For homemade donuts, that's getting 4 out of 5 stars. 100% I will be making these again. Yes. Guys, oh my gosh. This one is unreal. Unreal. Now looking back at it, it really wasn't that hard of a task to make the donuts. If you decide to make donuts and you decide this is the only thing that you're making in the day, it really isn't that much of a process. It might take you about 3 hours, but majority of that time is just sitting and waiting for the dough to rise. Other than that, it's relatively easy. I've only ever had one peanut butter and jelly donut from somewhere else. This takes a crap on it. This gets a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So this is awkward. It is currently 2:42 the next day. Yes, I have eaten a little bit today. I had some chicken breast and the ketchup I made yesterday. But here's the thing. Yesterday I finished the donuts and the pizza, but I was so exhausted after all of that and eating. I ended up falling asleep. Didn't want to do anything else for the rest of the day. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. It's a lot. I don't know how Nara Smith does it. I know she doesn't do all of this in one day. She does a lot of prep work. I didn't do any of the prep work, which was a mistake on my part, but now I know. I said, you know what? We'll just make this 2 days. Today I made pita bread. This is homemade pita bread. It didn't come out the best. It is still really good. I put some butter on this one. I did not make the butter homemade. I know. That is also, I guess, a no-no. It's me again. We're gonna get into how I made the pita bread, but here's the thing. I can't give you exact measurements because this recipe is for my grandma. Even though it's for you guys, I don't think she wants me to give it out. I can't. But I will tell you the steps on what I did to actually make the pita bread. You're gonna wanna sift out your all-purpose flour, mix in the yeast mixture with a dough hook as well. You wanna knead that for about 5 minutes with some hot water and salt. Make sure that you add every little drop of yeast. It is super important for the bread to raise. Let the dough sit for about 45 minutes and then you're gonna make little balls out of it. Once that's done, you let it sit for about another 20 to 30 minutes before you actually roll the dough out. Roll each one into a pita bread shape and then preheat an oven to 400 degrees and put your pan in there before you actually put the bread on it. Put the bread on it and it only takes about 2 to 3 minutes for the bread to actually cook. I'm just starting to see how difficult it is to make everything from scratch. I enjoy baking, I enjoy cooking, I enjoy making things homemade, but to do every little thing is a hassle. Even though this is not my best work, this bread is still so good. Bread with butter, 5-star combination. I'm gonna go get some more. This is my third piece, and this one actually came out insanely good. Look at that. I will say though, when you do make things homemade, one, there's a satisfaction to it where you just feel accomplished, and two, it does sometimes taste better. The only thing that doesn't taste better homemade is brownies. Box brownies will always be elite. I'm also doing one piece with peanut butter that I made yesterday and the jam that I made yesterday. The strawberry jam is a little too tart. Put a little honey on this. I think I put a little too much citric acid in the jam. It is crazy to think that 95% of this, or honestly 99% of this is homemade. The only thing that I didn't make was the honey. One, I don't have a bee farm. And two, I am deathly afraid of bees. We finally made it to dinner. It is super late. 9:30. Normally I eat dinner late, but this just took a lot of time, a lot of effort. The only thing I didn't make from scratch on this plate is the tortillas. When Nara made her tacos, they bought the tortillas, so I felt like I could do that, and that's fine. Cut up limes, made some chicken, made some steak, made some fajitas, the veggies, sauteed them in the pan, made some guacamole. They did a cilantro mango salsa pico type thing. I'm not a big fan of cilantro. I was cutting it. The smell actually grossed me out, and I couldn't do it. I feel like she sits with her family for dinner, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to take a bite of the steak one for you because I'm super excited. Mouth watering. Let you guys know how it is. Give you the rating. I hope you guys don't get tired of seeing me. We're going to get into the tacos for the night. This was probably my favorite meal of the day, of the 2 days. It felt so clean. Let's get into exactly what I did to make the tacos, because this one surprisingly took the most effort and the most time. To start with the tacos, I was going to do a cilantro pico, but then I cut the cilantro and I smelt it and I couldn't do it. I need to have it made for me or I'm not eating it. Since I had a lot of avocados, I decided to make guac, which was definitely the move. I always see people removing the pit of an avocado with a knife, and this is just so satisfying. I added the avocados to a bowl, then I cut up some tomatoes and red onion. I genuinely thought it was only yellow or white onions that made you cry when you cut them, but the red onions did it to me. Or it could have been the fact that I have no love life. I still don't know. I mashed up the avocados before I added any of the other ingredients in, put lime to taste, and then I added some other ingredients like black pepper, salt, some garlic powder, and also fresh garlic. For the fresh garlic, I put a little bit of olive oil and garlic cloves, and then I just mashed it up. And if you are the chef, you have to taste it to make sure that it is good, because it wasn't. It needed some more lime. After that, it was perfect. I even had my mom taste it, who's a super hard critic, and she liked it. That's always a win. Now we needed to do the meat, so we just fried it up on the pan. I cut it up into smaller little pieces to make it easier to eat with the tacos, and then fried up some white and red onions, and that was it. And this was the final product, everything that we used for the tacos. That's 5 stars right there. 5 stars. The flavors come together so well. I'm gonna put a little lime. But I'm also gonna try the chicken one for you guys. This is what it looks like. And this is what the steak one looks like. Absolutely unreal. I wish I squeezed the lime for that first bite of the steak one. The lime brings out the flavors so well. That is another 5 stars. As tired as I am and as much work it took to make this, I'm going to enjoy this. It is delicious. But I'm gonna go sit with my family right now and eat dinner. I'll see you guys in a little. Thank you for joining me on this full day of me making everything homemade. Will I be doing this again? Absolutely not. Will I be making things homemade? Yes, but my limit is only 1 a day. This was just way too much. Shout out Nara Smith for making everything homemade. She's a real one. She's an absolute beast. Don't understand it. But nonetheless, hit the thumbs button if you like this video. Definitely definitely hit the subscribe button because there's gonna be a lot more videos like this, because I will be releasing a video every Thursday and Sunday. So stay tuned for those videos. I hope you're having a great day whenever you're watching this, wherever you're watching this. I'll see you in the next one.